from the Indian Vegetables Oil Producers Association to deliver his presentation regarding the development of vegetable oils industry in India. Mr. Desai, you have 15 to 20 minutes for the presentations. Now I give the floor and screen to you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to participate in this great forum right now. I would just move on with my presentation. It's a very suitable subject right now, and I would be very glad to share my thoughts as quickly as I can. Next one, please. Yes, a quick snapshot without saying much. I think after the pandemic, India is growing, and especially you would watch that the agriculture sector has got an improved performance of 3.4%. I would only just say to the next box, the inflation right now is a major concern for the government from a policy point of view. As I can see that, the balancing between farmer and consumers, especially from an edible oil perspective, is very important. After the vaccination of 1 billion people, I think we expect the last quarter has been very good in terms of both industrial growth and the services. But I would just describe this as a path to recovery right now. Next one, please. This is an interesting slide in terms of where we are. We already heard that the food demand is going to be increasing very rapidly. I think we need 50% more food by 2050, and maybe the land is not enough, as we just heard. Out of which the total land, oil seeds occupies only 1.9%, which you can see, and of which oil palm occupies only 0.11%. So this is a very efficient and effective crop. We just can't visualize where the prices and the food sector would be without oil palm. And at the same time, suppose we just imagine in India itself, which is the largest importer of palm oil, I can easily see without palm oil, which constitutes 60-70% of imports, the prices, every oil would almost become like olive oil prices. So that is the role of palm oil, and that's the role and the responsibility that is there to meet the growing food sector demand going ahead. Next one, please. And within the oilseed sector, I just want to share and highlight only to the point. Soybean occupies 2.15% of the arable land, and oil palm occupies 0.25% of the land. It's a very, very efficient per hectare servicing and efficiency that it can give to the food sector. Next one, please. Just to recap, the sustainability discussion that we have today is much beyond deforestation. These are the various goals, multi-dimensional goals that the UN has declared. While this has been there for long enough, the next slide is very important in terms of where we stand today. This is the last month development. Next slide, please. 100 world leaders in the last year in the UN climate change mission have agreed to contribute and pledge nearly $20 billion. And this is a very path-breaking and historical event where by 2030, the goals have been clearly defined in terms of ending deforestation towards sustainability. And the next year, there will be by COP27, there will be a complete footprint on the supply chain of especially palm and soya oils. From India's side, India will achieve net zero emissions by 2070. India will reduce carbon intensity by 45% by 2030, which is a very, very important development. India will reduce projected carbon emission till 2030 by 1 billion tons. India's renewable energy component will increase by 50%, and India will aim 500 gigawatts of non-fossil energy capacity. As you know, in India, the solar and alternative convention energies are growing very fast, especially makes sense given the current coal crisis that we hear from China and partially in India right now. Next one, please. Now, I just could get on in a few slides to describe what's happening in India. I think domestic crops have been growing on the rise. Soybean production is reached about 10.5 million tons. And we also have mustard seed production expected to touch 9.2 or even 9.5 million tons. Right now, the plantings are going on. So overall domestic availability this year in the oil year 21-22 will increase by 800 to even 1 million tons. This has been possible because the prices have given a very right trigger to the Indian oilseed growing farmers. But I also saw that import duties have been bifurcated in India. There is a particular large component that has been developed, assigned for infra and development in India. Mission on oilseeds towards self-sufficiency, because India obviously wants a slightly higher dependency on domestic crops, which are possible. And we also, I will touch briefly in a slide about oil palm developments in India. So overall, from India side, the policy drivers are food inflation, slight reduction in the import dependency, and balancing the consumer and farm prices. And most importantly, Indian farmers have done a wonderful job of production of wheat and rice. After feeding 1.3 billion people also, we have a huge stocks of wheat and rice. So there is a concentrated effort to divert some of this acreage to oil seeds. Next one, please. I just felt that I should highlight how the consumption has been changing in terms of overall efforts. You see that soybean oil, which was 2.6 million tons, has grown up to 5.2 and currently at 4.4. Similarly, on palm oil, has been relatively stagnant in terms of overall consumption. In 15-16 itself, India has consumed 8.9 million tons. And for the next year, which is 21-22, we project about 8.89 million tons of palm oil, all because Indian consumption is a function of price spreads between oils. Next one, please. A quick one on the domestic front, what I was mentioning. We have soybean oil, cottonseed oil, rapeseed oil, rice bran oil, and others constituting slightly higher growth in 21-22. But by and large, if you see the rest of the years, barring 17-18, the domestic production has been stagnant and thereby a concern for the government of India. Next one, please. Here is an important point which I want to make. The total consumption, which is the topmost line that you see, India consumes nearly 21 million tons in the year 21-22. We expect about 22.6 million tons of consumption. And what you see on the green bar diagrams is the import projections. So for the next year, we expect 13.79 million tons of imports, and the domestic oils is contributing about 8.9. But barring a lot of people say that the high prices have led to stagnant production. But what I observed from this is that even in 17-18 to now, I think there has been a particular slowdown in the overall consumption of India. Next one, please. This is just a quick snapshot for a reference later. But here I just highlight for the year, which is of interest to majority of the audience, is that we expect about 3.37 million tons of bean oil imports in the next 12 months, sulfur oil about 2.18, and rapeseed oil also arrives from mostly Gulf area, and palm oil is projected to be about 9 million tons. In a slide, the next, I would be able to show what is the breakup between Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of this imports that happens into India. Next, please. One slide I thought I should definitely mention about the oil palm potential, which must have attracted a lot of attention, because the government of India has announced a huge $1.5 billion support, and this time it has taken into consideration all kinds of factors, including infrastructure. It also offers price protections, and we also saw that the investments are far less in India compared to Malaysia and Indonesia. And for as a new concept, a viability price has been arrived at, and whatever is the fair market price and the viability price, the government has assured a price protection to the farmers given the gestation period. If you know the geography of India, I think I just heard in Telangana and in Andhra Pradesh in South India, it is about 1.2 million tons can be the max potential. Northeast India can see about 400K. Others include Gujarat, Orissa, many states, though the yields are slightly less. But in its best efforts in the next 2035, 37, which is the plan period of the oil palm mission, I think we can even go up to 2.5 million tons of oil availability from the palm. And from a sustainability point of view, I think this is taking, the land is being taken mostly from the fallow land. There is a very less deforestation. And the main bottleneck, why it has not happened so far, has been the logistics of moving FFBs from the place of production, and thereby there has been uprooting of the trees. But now that is being addressed in the current plan of infrastructure. Next one, please. This is a little bit interesting when I see from where we are importing palm oil. You can see that Indonesian share is gradually decreasing from 2017, where we used to import about 79%, and currently the import share is 59% from India to India. This is probably because Indonesia has imposed a higher level of duties for exports. That could be the only reason, and we have seen an increasing market share imports from Malaysia so far. Next one, please. I just want to say that sustainability as an agriculture practice is in India, at least, is a big opportunity. We have a lot to learn from Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of managing the agriculture practices, especially when Argentina and Vietnam also have developed their own models. I think India is at a stage where the own model of development of oilseed is being developed, starting with oil palm, which I just mentioned. And there is a three things that we are being proposed, at least we as Indian vegetable oil producers also have been proposing that we need to facilitate the right technology and the regulator framework and the capital for the oilseeds development within India. It is not to say that India would ever be able to reduce import dependency to less than 40%, but the current 30-35% of domestic production, at the best of the estimates, can go up to 45, even 50% for a better mix between domestic oils and imported oils. Microcredit finance in India is a big opportunity for everybody who looks at it. That is the gap, filling up that gap can make about $50-60 billion of difference. Reduction in cost of soil and fertilizers, which is part of the sustainability practices, can improve the revenues by 15%. Price risk online mechanism is also developing within India, which can also add about 15%. So basically bridging the gap between the farm gate prices and the consumer. I think this kind of a sustainability model for India would actually create much more efficiencies like it has done in rest of the agrarian economies. Next one, please. We also, as IVPA, participated in with RSPO. We have a tie-up to work on, along with our members, on some of the sustainability. We are open to other. There's so much happening on the sustainability sector. So we have been associated with RSPO so far. Next one, please. What attracts especially is that in India, unlike Malaysia, Indonesia, the land acreage is hardly less than 1 or 2 hectares. So whatever can be done on the sustainability front to the smallholders would make enormous sense as we go on this path of sustainable oilseed growth within India. So this is all I have to give as an introduction from India point of view. Next one, please. And thank you very much on behalf of Indian Vegetable Oil Producers Association. We would continue to work with you all. Thanks for meeting us, and we will explore opportunities on a couple of areas on the productivity, imports, right policies, and also on consumer impressions on the palm oil. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Desai. I think this is a very interesting presentations. As you have highlighted, there's a growing food demand for vegetable oils, and in terms of this demand, how to fulfill this demand, it is also important to look at the land bank and also land usage of various vegetable oils. I may probably just wanted to also ask our speakers on their response probably to various possible cooperations ahead. Probably at this stage, if I may, I would like to ask Mr. Desai and Mr. Irawan to comment on these possible cooperations that's been expressed by both our speakers and the participants. If I may, I will start with Mr. Desai.
Yes, yes, please. Thank you very much. It's very interesting to see the depth of the technological aspects involved, and obviously the research both in Malaysia, Indonesia, especially Indonesia. I remember very long back, Indonesian production used to be much lower than Malaysia. I'm talking about probably 20 years or less than 20 years ago. So I think there has been wonders that has been done in terms of managing the whole end-to-end technology aspect of it. So there is a huge partnering opportunity. In fact, in the oil palm mission, also there is a particular subsidy that has been given to the farmers for obtaining hybrid seeds from abroad and from locally at a different price. In fact, there is a price premium. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's about $390, something like that, per hectare is given as a subsidy for obtaining seeds from abroad. So not only that, but sustainable practices being a global issue, I think whatever India can see a business opportunity. I also believe that behind every cooperation, there should be an economic sense. There should be a business opportunity for a win-win situation, which is very much possible. And listening to Mr. Reddy, I'm already aware that Malaysians have already made some move. FGV has moved to participate in the opportunity that is there. Similarly, in Northeast and other identified areas, not only Northeast, but even in other states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Orissa, where the climatic conditions are not very, not as good as probably it is in some parts, but nevertheless, even 2.53 tons yield makes it one of the most interesting crops in India amongst the edible oil sector and the most profitable. So, plus jointly, of course, we hear talks that Indonesia would like to stop CPO exports and move to only refined oils. I think that must be a long way to go. We must find a balance between crude oils and refined oils. Obviously, India's interest is to make in India and refine in India, obviously. And so I think I look at this as not a seller-buyer relationship, but as a mutual win-win situation for finding a common goals, more as a co-option between origin countries and a major destination like India. Thank you very much.
Dr. Desai for his final words.
No, I think I said more or less what I want to share, but I like what I heard just now. I think the most importantly, palm is a economic is of a great economic value for the small landholders, small farmers. So, in terms of sustainability, if it is three pillars of environmental, economic, and also as a responsibility to make it make it socially relevant. I think the value of provision of livelihoods for the farmers, especially in India and abroad everywhere, oil palm is very vital, and also for the food sector in India, for example. Out of 23 million tons, I expect about 40-45% being the food service sector, which cannot do without palm oil. And number three, it's not cheap from a consumer point of view. There is no cheap oil. There is only economically valuable oil. Currently now, if you see, due to supply demand factors, you will almost see palm oil, sunflower oil, and also soy refined oil almost at the very narrow range in terms of price equation. So now is the time for the core demand of each value, which we will see. So I believe that price is a value, not just cheap. So from that point of view, palm oil demand will not struggle just because it is as expensive as sun oil today, for example. I think every oil has got its end purpose, and so is the food sector. So it's a very valuable contribution by palm in Indian food sector service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Desai.
Please like and subscribe IVPA channel.